Hi everyone, Sajid Amit here, and this video is not a review per se, but more of a discussion on why I've decided to repurchase the very eternal, very famous, very loved Sennheiser HD6XX, the Massdrop version, which is the same headphone as the HD650, which is of course a monumental classic. Guys, so I have a lot of expensive stuff. I use the word expensive not by way of a flex. Although even if someone has to flex, I mean, I don't really judge people nowadays for flexing, because if they work hard for what they own and then they want to talk about it, I think it's okay. But then for me, it's also a love of the gear. Guys, I've always said this, that this is as much a gear hobby as it is a music listening hobby, because I mean, I think, honestly speaking, it's ultimately about music, so there's no denying that. But I'm not going to be one of those that claims that I'm a music first audiophile, because I love music. Of course, that's what this is all about. I just don't look at them because they look pretty. I do listen to a lot of music, but I do token for that last 1%, 2%, 10%. Hence, I work hard and then I buy these things and all that, right? The reason I emphasize on this, phrase of working hard, because I do think that it does deserve respect, right? These equipment do deserve respect, because oftentimes I feel like there's this, two universes. One universe in which people are all about value and measurements, and not even, and in a lot of cases, not even trying different things, like amps and DACs don't matter, that whole sort of mindset. And on the other extreme, you of course have people who are spending a lot of money. But I don't see people who are spending a lot of money necessarily going after people who are not. And I don't see people who are spending a lot of money going after the objectivists, so to speak. But I do see oftentimes that objectivists are slamming people who are spending money, oftentimes without even trying these gears, or oftentimes without even spending sufficient time with high-end gears, and sort of like looking for validation of their already existing views. Okay, with all that out of the way, the reason I have decided, honestly, to buy back the HD6XX, X6XX, I'm sorry. So guys, this is a unit that I used to own. I sold it to a friend of mine. And that was when I was leaving headphones and I was getting into IEMs. I still do IEMs, so don't get me wrong. I'm not just about headphones. But so I sold this off. I transitioned to IEMs. And then gradually, the reason why I got out of headphones was non-existent. I mean, the reason was because I was getting neck pains because of my posture and all that, right? And I would listen to headphones 8 to 10 hours a day. So that's a data point about how much I like listening to music and not just gear, looking at gear or collecting gear. So anyway, so I sold it off, right? I listened to IEMs for about 2 years as I was healing and getting better. And once I decided I was healed enough, I got back into headphones, and then I just was, I guess, making up for lost time, and I ramped up. I currently have a pretty good setup that I'm pretty proud of. I have an Orender N20 streamer here, which you can see, a Mola Tambaki deck, which you also cannot see. But you can see my two amplifiers. I have the Riviera Labs AIC10, which is a tube hybrid, and I have an Audma Maestro HPA1. And I got this first. This is the first super high-end amplifier that I bought with my own money. $10,000, paid full price, worth every damn penny. This I'm still getting used to. This just looks phenomenal and has this very unique sound. But I actually jive more with this than with this, right? But anyway, and I of course got the RAL Imanes. The reason I say of course is because, I mean, this system was built around the Imanes. The RAL 1995 Imanes of this sort of setup, I would personally take over the HE1. Because it's just a little more, technical in my mind, a little more sort of able to thread the balance between musicality and technicality. And I also think the RAL 995 Imanes of this sort of setup punches hard, gives you more of that delicious, sort of ravishing slam and kick drums and all that I really crave, because I do like a lot of lively genres. So this setup is made for the Raul Imanes. This is an expensive setup, of course, with a $10,000 amp here, a $20,000 amp here, a $13,000 DAC, and a $13,000 streamer. So I don't know how much that all adds up to. I, of course, did not pay full price in several cases, and I bought some of this stuff used. But it would be surprising still to claim that I have space for this. So this might not be surprising for some of you who still consider this like your holy grail or your be all and end all. And in many cases, there are summit fires. It's a strange term, but of course that means people who spend a lot of money and get like extremely high-end gear. Even for those people, there are, I'm sure, a few of you out there who will relate and who still has held on to this. But see, I'm a massive tinkerer, and I am a massive synergy aficionado, and I do a lot of duping in pursuit of synergy. For me, this hobby is partially about pursuit of synergy, right? So once I got the Audma in and once I got the AIC in, because these two amps really have their own character, and they induce their own character into every headphone that I have driven these with. Like this warms up headphones and gives it a lot of tonal density. Like things become really, really dense and congealed, and so everything sounds wonderful. And this is very punchy as a result, very mid-rangey as a result. I still haven't rolled the tube that's inside, and I have it on good authority that this will change character significantly depending on the tube that I roll. And I haven't, guys. And I have some tubes incoming. I have a Mallard incoming and a Telefunken tube incoming. And I know for a fact that you can change the sound from a more, clarity-oriented sound to a far warmer sound than is available with the stock. So I haven't, done justice to this amp yet, right? But I have done justice to the Audma because I've owned this for about 6 months now. And I'm yet to review it. But I've been dropping impressions now and then about the Audma. So this is as much about the Audma as it is about this. So these two of the stock tube were not necessarily the best possible synergy. And I'll give you that. This is a $20,000 amp. I own it. I bought it with my own money. I didn't pay full price, but that's beside the point. The fact is, I'm not just making a sort of a claim for this because it's more expensive. See, I'm sort of talking about this, which is half the price. And I paid full price for this. So what happens with the 6XX of the Audma is just unreal. It's unexpected, and it just fixes everything that I found problematic about the 6XX or the 650. Guys, I mean, this is something you have to hear to understand how much of a difference an amp makes. And of course, the fact that this scales is well known, and this does scale a lot. But it's not just about this headphone, guys, because everything scales on the Audma. The Focal Clear scales on the Audma. Everything does, right? So the most impressive difference I find is due to the fact that the Audma has this ELISA circuit, right? So you switch the circuit on with this knob, right? Like this is off and this is on. And once this ELISA circuit is switched on, the engineer behind Audma, his name is Cesaro. And he must be some sort of a genius. Like I've emailed with him once, but I don't think, and they have this lady Luana who's handling marketing, and she's very professional and good to deal with. Very straight up, very forward, and friendly. But that being said, I do think these guys deserve more attention because I'll tell you about this as a case study. So once you switch on the ELISA circuit, and this second knob here on the top is used to determine how much of a stage width do you want. And Golden Sound made a very interesting description when he talked about the SAL HM1, where he talked about how the crossfeed is unlike any other crossfeed, where with other crossfeeds, you get like a certain sense of spaciousness and all that, which is often not very convincing. But with the ZAL HM1, once you dial in the crossfeed, you get a sense of being able to zoom in onto images, just like you would on a photograph. I often find that analogies with photography work really well for audio. So he made this analogy like it feels like you're zooming in on the stage, on the performers when you dial up the stage function. And honestly speaking, I have I had a lot of experience with the Zell. I was gonna buy it, but then I bought the Audma because the staging here, the Elisa here, I think is at least 50% more convincing and realistic than on the Zell, which is why I bought it. With the Elisa, the staging is similar. Like you get to zoom in on the stage, but you also get a sense of boundlessness. So, to give you an example, playing "Welcome to the Machine" by Pink Floyd on the 6XX using this Elisa. So I have it dialed up to 12 o'clock here, so halfway up, like I can go even 50% more. And then of course, I have the stage angle here. This is another knob on top, like 3 knobs on top. This decides how you place the images, right? And the angle, which I'll discuss in a separate video, but I also keep it at 12 o'clock. So in that track, Welcome to the Machine, towards the end, there's this segment, right, where people are laughing and talking, and there's this sort of like, beautiful sort of, sound of crowd talking to each other and laughing and having a sort of good social time. On the 6XX, which has always had a very narrow sense of stage, that part of that track just comes alive, and you feel like you're listening to live music the way you do on an Imanis or SR1A, 1B, or an HD800. It really becomes wide without losing cohesion, without losing note weight and total density. And that is just phenomenal to see how the Audma takes the staging here to a level that I think you only get with like an Aria or an HD800 or a RAL and 995 Imanis or a RAL SR1B. Of course, it doesn't stage as wide as an SR1B does, but guys, the cohesion of the stage, the out-of-headness of the stage with the Elisa and the 6XX will blow you away. It's just phenomenal, and I needed to share this with you guys. I know it's weird for me to share this with you guys because people who are looking to buy this will not usually buy this. But people who want to buy this might buy this, and more importantly, people need to check this out if this is within your willingness to pay spectrum, price point wise. But that's not the only thing. The only thing that it does to the AG6XX, which is why I'm buying this. The other reason why I'm buying this is because now that I own the Audma, the slam here is just incredible. The leading edge of sub bass notes. So first of all, it sounds sub bassy. It sounds deep and rumbly, and not in a soft timbre-ish kind of way. The note boundaries, the note delineation, the leading edge of notes just sounds very bloody tactile, almost like a focal clear does, right? So if you take this perception of the leading edge of notes as something between soft and smearish, and plasticky, like which the HD6XX has always given me, to a focal clear, which is very sharp and refined and metallic, this becomes more like a focal clear without losing its beauty and softness altogether, because this will never become a metallic sounding headphone. But it just becomes more tactile. So the slam hits hard, and you can listen to heavy metal on this, which is such a dream come true for me because it's got such beautiful vocals, right? So that's another reason why I'm buying this back. And last but not the least, I also get very large images, right? The way it's tuned, this amplifier, is that it has somewhat of a forward presentation of mid-range, not just upper mids. The entire presentation is very forward, right? So you automatically get a sense of height of images, right? So this is very realistic, driven by the Audma, and images are very palpable and has body, and this amp somehow is able to sound very crystalline, so it just cuts through the clutter here. And although it sounds a bit bassy, and it still does, but it still sounds more crystalline, and that's one thing I really like the Audma for. It's very, very crystalline. It's got a very, very beautiful transparent leading edge of notes, a lot of clarity, guys, a lot of clarity, and maybe there's some boost to the upper treble because this sounds very crystalline and very airy, much more so than it does usually. And coupled with everything and how forward it sounds very, very dynamic and still melodic and still warm and still timbrely rich and all that. So these are the reasons why, guys, I'm buying back the HD6XX because of this amplifier. And I do have to say that, of course, my DAC makes a difference. And if you don't believe in DAC, that's fine. You don't have to watch this, of course. But I do think my Mola Tambaki makes a difference. The Mola Tambaki is this masterclass DAC because it sounds very note weighty while also having treble sparkle, which is a very difficult combination to get in DACs. And then, of course, my streamer, I think, also makes a difference. And a bunch of everything else, of course, makes a difference. But a big shout out to Audma Maestro HPA1. This is an amazing amplifier and it's super powerful as well. And this is the reason why I'm buying back an HD6XX. And I am happy to say that I'm going to be a proud owner again of the HD6XX alongside my RAL 995 Manus. And yeah, so give it a shout if you, give it a whirl if you ever run into or if you ever come across an Audma Maestro HPA1. And if you already happen to be a Summit Fire, again, that's a strange term. I know, apologies for using a shorthand, a descriptive term, I hope. If you want to, get into the 86XX again, do give it a whirl with this amplifier. So that's it from me, Sajid. I'm signing out and stay tuned for the next one. Bye-bye.